A very good morning to all the students. So in the last session we discussed on the concept of components of modern block cipher. We have started the session, and can anybody tell me what are the various components we have in the modern block cipher? First of all, tell me what is a block cipher? What do you mean by a block cipher? Anybody please respond.
Block cipher is an n-bit block of plain text or plain text.
Okay, so we will consider an n-bit text as a block, right? And we try to make this encrypt this block. So since we are treating n bits as a single block, we call such type of ciphers as the modern block ciphers, right? So can anybody list out the components of the modern block cipher what we have discussed in the previous session?
P box and S box, sir.
Super, right? It can also be called as D box. P box is also called as D box, and we have another box which is called as S box, right? So S box plays very important role. It doesn't mean that the D box does not play any role. It has its limited role, but S box plays very vital role. This I will tell you when we are going to discuss the two classes of block ciphers, right? We will discuss the concept of confusion and diffusion in the coming sessions. There we will discuss what is the important role of this S box, right? So other than this, we have already discussed that we have some more components in the modern block cipher, such as XOR, shift, similarly swap is also there, and similarly we have the split and combine. So if somebody asks you the question on the components of the modern block cipher, you should tell all these things, right? You should explain all these things. What is the D box, what is the S box, XOR box, shift, swap, split and combine, right? So we'll be discussing, I think we have started the concept with the P box, right? So in the previous session also we have discussed that a modern block cipher is not designed as a single unit. It is a combination of more than one component, right? Those components can be, it can consist of more number of S boxes. It can consist of some set of D boxes. Similarly, they may use the XOR operation, they may use the circular shift operation. Like that, you don't think of the modern block cipher as a single unit. It is a combination of more number of components of D boxes, S boxes, XOR operation. Why we are making use of these more number of components is to achieve the concept of confusion and diffusion, right? So that we will discuss in the later sessions, but we have gone through these D boxes. What is the name of the D box? Abbreviate it. What is the D stands for?
Diffusion.
Diffusion. Right, super. And it is also called as a P box, where P stands for the permutation, right? And what are the two ways of implementing these D boxes or P boxes? One is we can implement it through a hardware, or another one is you can implement it by using a software also. So when you implement it by hardware, you will make the pre-wiring So the hardware components of the D boxes are pre-wired. So you connect the first bit of the input to the 26th bit, right? It is up to you, right? And you connect the second bit to the 5th bit of the output. Like that you can make your own pre-wiring concept in the hardware implementation of the D boxes. How do you implement the D boxes using software? What is the term we have?
Tables for commutation tables.
Super, right. We will be using the concept of permutation tables. So a D box is a traditional transposition cipher for characters. D box is also called as P box. It is used to transpose the bits and it helps in diffusion of the input. We have three types of D boxes. What are those? The straight D boxes, expansion D boxes, and compression D boxes. As we have discussed that this particular category or the types of the D boxes is based on the number of inputs and the number of outputs. So what do you mean by the straight D box? The number of inputs M is equal to the number of outputs N. If we assume the number of inputs as M and the number of outputs as N. Expansion means the number of outputs will be greater. So you are going to expand the input. So when you come to the output, you will have more number of bits when compared to that of the input. So M represents the inputs and N represents the outputs. What about the compression D boxes? So we are going to compress the output. So the number of outputs N will be less than the number of inputs M. So all these things we have discussed, and these are the examples, right? Here in this straight P box you can see that there are 5 inputs and 5 outputs. Therefore it is represented as a 5 by 5 straight D box. Whereas in the compression P box we are going to compress it. Therefore we have 5 inputs and 3 outputs. Therefore we name it as 5 by 3 compression D box. Similarly in the expansion D box we have 3 inputs and 5 outputs. So we are naming it as a 3 by 5 expansion D box, right? So as this is also discussed that if we have n outputs, n inputs and n outputs, so we will have n factorial permutation tables or pre-wired components, hardware components, right? So if you take an example of 3 by 3 P box or D box, since it has n factorial, that is 3 factorial, that is 6 combinations of the permutation tables will be there. All these things we have shown here. So if you keep on increasing the number of inputs and outputs, then the P box will also be the number of possible permutation tables will also increase, right? So this you have to keep it in mind. So this is an example of the permutation table for a straight P box, which we have discussed in the earlier classes also, earlier session, right? So what is this table? Is it the output or the input we have to consider?
Output से.
Super, right? So we are going to take this as the output. So what we have to do is we have to index this box 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 like that, right? Up to here we have 64, right? So what does this mean? The index 1 represents the output terminal and 58 represents the terminal from which this 1 is getting the input. That means the output 1 is connected to 58th terminal or 58th bit of the input. So can anybody tell me what does this 54 represent, so that we can move forward? What does this 54 represent?
18th output, sir.
Super, right. So this index comes as 18. So the 18th output is connected to the 54th input, right? So this is a straight P box we have, and this example in the last session we have skipped it, so we will go through this, right? So design an 8 by 8 permutation table. When you come across the same inputs and outputs, what does it mean? Is it a straight P box or expansion or compression P box?
Straight P box.
Straight P box.
It is a straight P box.
Straight P
Why?
box.
Because we have 8 inputs and 8 outputs, right? So it is a straight P box that moves 2 middle bits. Listen carefully, everything is present in the question itself. So that moves 2 middle bits, which are 4 and 5, in the input word to the ends. So out of these 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inputs, what is that he is saying? This 4th bit and the 5th bit, which are the middle bits, are thrown to the ends, 2 ends. So 4 is thrown to the first end and 5 is thrown to the last end, right? It is not he has not given any signal saying that 4 has to be thrown to the left itself, right? You can throw it to the right also, 5 can be thrown to the other end, but the concept here is they are thrown to 2 different ends, right? And the relative positions of the other bits should not be changed. So you should not touch these 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. So what is that you will get here? So we need a straight box with the table, this one, simple, right? So 4 has been thrown to the left hand side and 5 has been thrown to the right end. And the remaining positions 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 remains as it is. So this is how we are going to design a straight P box. It's a simple example by taking an 8 input and 8 output. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. So now coming to the compression P boxes, we have seen a compression P box is the number of outputs is less than the number of inputs. So 32 by 24 permutation table we have. So this particular, as I said that this is an output table, therefore this table consists of 24 entries. And the 24 entries means what happens to the remaining 8 bits? As we told that some of the bits are blocked, so they don't have any output. So the input 8 bits of the input are blocked, which doesn't have any relationship with the output, right? So in the similar fashion what we have discussed earlier, we need to give the indexing here. So when we go through this 21, we can simply say that the 4th output is connected to the 21st input. This is what we have to understand. And as you can see, what happened to these 8 bits, they are simply blocked. So what are those 8 bits means? It is 7, 8, 9, 15, 16, 23, 24 and 25. So these are blocked. That doesn't have any significance, right? It doesn't have any related output here. Is it clear? And as I told that the compression P boxes are used to permute the bits. Permute means, what do you mean by permutation? Arrangements, right? So whenever you want to arrange the bits or whenever you want to reorder the bits, and at the same time you want to decrease the number of bits for the next stage, you may make use of these compression P boxes. As of now, we don't know where we are going to use these compression P boxes. At max, so whatever examples we are going to discuss in this particular unit, like the DES and AES, they are going to use the straight P boxes only. So the number of inputs is equal to the number of outputs. So you keep it in mind, right? And coming to the expansion P boxes, the expansion P box means the number of outputs is greater than the number of inputs. So we have 12 inputs here in this example and we have 16 outputs. So we have 4 bits extra. So what happens, why you are getting this 4 bits of extra as the output means, one input is mapped to more than one output. So if you consider this particular permutation table, you can observe here that 1 is mapped 2 times, similarly 3 is mapped 2 times, and similarly 9, is this 9 is mapped 2 times, and finally we have this 12, right? 12 is mapped 2 times. So this is how we are going to make create an expansion P box, and this particular expansion P box is used to permute the bits at the same time. When you want to have more number of bits for the next stage, you are going to use these expansion P boxes. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now we are going to discuss one more important topic, which is called as P boxes invertibility, right? So this invertibility plays very important role in the cryptography. So you should know what this invertibility is. Can anybody give me some idea on what do you understand by this term invertibility?
Invert means like reverse, like
Reversible,
upside
sir.
down,
Yeah.
reversible upside down.
So invertibility means to reverse the things, right? So how can you relate this? Is absolutely correct, but how can you relate this invertibility concept to our cryptography? So what are the two things we have in cryptography? Important operation is, one is encryption and decryption, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So when we make use of one P box for the encryption and the inverse of the P box is used for the decryption, then we can say that they are invertible, right? Very simple. So the same P box, but one is used as the straight P box for encryption and another one is used for the decryption, which we make use of the inverse, right? We'll see how to inverse the things, right? So is it clear? The invertibility is a concept where you can make use of the component for encryption and the inverse of the same component for the decryption, right? So in such cases we will call them as the invertibility, right? So here, how many types of P boxes we have?
Three, sir.
Straight P box, expansion P box, and compression P box, right? So can anybody tell me, out of these three categories of P boxes, which one can be invertible? Very simple thing, right? So expansion P boxes means number of outputs is greater than number of inputs, and compression P boxes is number of outputs is less than this one. But whereas if you consider this one, the number of inputs is equal to the number of outputs. So whenever we have the equal number of inputs and outputs, then only they are inversible, right? So out of these three categories of P boxes, we can say that the straight P box is the only P box which is invertible, right? But the expansion and compression P boxes are not invertible. Is it clear? So in this slide we have gone through what this invertibility is and what type of P box can be inverted. These are the two things we have discussed here, right? So we'll see how we can invert a permutation table, right? Listen carefully. So the first step is you have to take the original table. So this is an example of 6 inputs. So what is the output we have? 6. Why? Because this is a straight P box, right? So how many outputs are there? Now tell me, what is this one? This is a original permutation table, whatever you are taking. So tell me, what is this? Is it the output or a input? So this is an output, right?
Input, sir.
Yeah, but this is considered as the output table, but these entries are input symbols. I agreed, right? But what you have to do is you have to take the permutation table and you have to give indexes in the increasing order like this, right? After adding the indices, the third step is you have to swap the original contents with the indices. So this entire line of indices will go here and these values will come down as the indices. Now what you have to do is in the first step you have to sort based on the indices. Now you sort this entire category along with this, right? So 1 is mapped with 6 and similarly 2 is mapped with 3. So when you come here, 1 is mapped with 6 and here this one, like that. So here when you sort these things along with the contents, you will get the output as this one. So whatever you get here 6, 5, 2, 3, 4, 1, that is considered as the inverted table. Very simple concept, right? So you add you take the original permutation table, you add the indices, you swap the contents on the indices, and then you again sort based on the indices. Then the resultant permutation table will be the inverted permutation table. So this is a simple example which the author has explained us to clear the concepts of how we are going to invert the permutation table. Know where we are going to use, but you should have an idea. That's it. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now if you consider the compression P box and the expansion P box. So in the compression P box we have 3 inputs and 2 outputs. So when you inverse this one, this will not work. So these two things are not the inverses to each other. Similarly in the expansion P box we have 2 inputs and 3 outputs like this. So when you reverse it or when you inverse it, this is not considered as this particular component is not considered as the inverse of this component. So the expansion P boxes and the compression P boxes are not inverses, are non-invertible, we can say, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Listen carefully. This invertibility and non-invertibility concept plays very important role, or these are the main components or main concepts where we will be discussing the classes of the product ciphers. Right? We have 2 classes, one is Feastel and the another one is non-Feastel. So it is categorized based upon the whether we are going to use the only convertible components or whether we are going to use both the convertible and the non-convertible components. Right? So is it clear about what this invertibility is and what category of P boxes is invertible?
Yes, sir.
So now we are going to discuss one important concept which is S boxes. What does this S box represent? What does this S stand for?
Substitution box, sir.
Super. So it represents the substitution box. Right. So how do you implement these S boxes? In the P boxes we have seen 2 categories of implementation, where you by using the hardware it will be pre-wired, and by using the software we make use of the permutation table. And how do you implement these S boxes? This also we have discussed in the introduction part of this block ciphers. Right? So the S boxes are implemented as mathematical functions. Very important concept. The S boxes are implemented as the mathematical functions. This you keep it in mind and then we will proceed it. So an S box stands for the substitution box. We know very well about this. And an S box is an M by N substitution unit where M and N are not necessarily the same. Similar to that of a P box, we have m inputs and n outputs, but they are not necessarily the same. That means similar to that of case of the P box, the substitution boxes may have the same inputs and same outputs, or they may not have, or the inputs, the number of inputs may not be equal to the outputs. There are two cases here also, right? Where one case is both the inputs and outputs are equal, and the second case is input is not equal to the output. Right. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And similarly, the S boxes can be keyed or keyless. What do you mean by keyless cipher? In the last session we have discussed it, right? What do you mean?
Non-confidential.
You should not say that is non-confidential is for our understanding. It is also correct only, but what actually is the keyless? What is the other term?
Fixed key, sir.
Fixed key ciphers.
Super, right. These are called as fixed key ciphers. So whatever you want to connect, what input is connected to the output, everything is predetermined. So when you take the predetermined concepts, we call them as keyless ciphers, right? So the S boxes, we have this keyed as well as the keyless ciphers also, and in the modern block ciphers they make use of the keyless S boxes only. That means the inputs and outputs are predetermined, they are pre-connected with each other, right? But we'll see how these S boxes are implemented, right? As I told that the S boxes are implemented using
Mathematical
functions, right? So here we have the linear mathematical function and non-linear mathematical functions, right? So we can categorize them as the linear and non-linear S boxes. So if there is a linear relationship between the input and the output, we call them as the linear S boxes. And if they doesn't have the linear relationship, that means the outputs are not linearly related to the inputs, then we call such type of S boxes as the non-linear S boxes. Right. We'll see with an example also, don't worry. So in an S box with n inputs, listen carefully, how many inputs are there? N inputs, and we have m outputs. So if you consider an S box with n cross m, where n is the inputs and m is the number of outputs, we call the inputs as x1, x2, and so on up to xn. Similarly, the outputs, we can call the output variables as y1, y2, and so on up to m variables we have. Right. And the relationship between the inputs and outputs can be represented as a set of mathematical equations. This is what we have told. The S boxes are implemented using mathematical functions. So the output y1 is given by the function f1 of n input variables. See here carefully. So one output is given as a function of n inputs. Similarly, the second output is given as the function of n input variables. This is, of course, this is a different function, right? Similarly, if you take the ym output, we'll have another function called as fm, which is also a function that is defined on n input variables, right? So since you are involving every variable, that means since you are defining the output as a function of every input variable, these can be categorized as the linear functions or linear S boxes. So we are defining a linear S box using the linearity functions. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So in this particular example, we will see how we are going to define the linear and non-linear S boxes. So as I told that the linear S box, every output is defined as a function of all the inputs x1, x2, and so on like that, right? So y2 is also defined with all the input variables. Like that, we are defining m outputs with m different functions that involves all the variables. Is it clear? And remember here, for example, if I take y1 is defined as a11 x1 plus a12 x1 plus and so on a1n xn, right? Here plus is not a addition operation, you consider this as the XOR operation. Since I couldn't find this XOR symbol, I have denoted it plus, where you have to treat it as the XOR operation. See here, the XOR operation plays very important role. This I will tell you, right? This I will tell you in the next coming classes. This is how you define a linear S box. But in case of the non-linear S box, we cannot have the above relations for every output, right? We don't have any such type of relations. Linear relations are not there. Such an S box will have the terms like product terms. We call them as product terms, x1, x2, x3, x7, or you can take it as x3, x4, x5. Like that you can take anything, right? So for example, an example of the non-linear S box is defined as the output y1 is equal to x1 into x2. It is not an XOR operation, right? We are just defining the product of these two input variables x1 and x2. Similarly, in order to define this y2, we are performing an exclusive operation on x1 and the product terms x2 and x3. So this is how the non-linear S boxes are related. There is no linear relation, or there is no linear connectivity between the input variables and the output variables. Is it clear? This is just for an idea. Don't go deep into it, right? But remember that the linear S boxes, we have the linear relationship where each and every output variable is defined as a mathematical function of the n input variables. Whereas in the non-linear S box, we don't have such type of relations. So there is no need that every variable is linked here, right? Is it clear?
Yes.
So here is an example to describe an S box with 3 inputs and 2 outputs. So as I told that the outputs y1 and y2, we have 2 outputs, and the 3 inputs are defined as x1, x2 and x3. So how this y1 is defined? It is defined as a function where you are performing an exclusive operation of all the variables, input variables, x1 exclusive or x2, x2 exclusive or x3. So this is how the y1 is related. And how this y2 is related? It is also a combination of all the 3 variables only. How can I write this? x1 plus 0 into x2 exclusive or 0 into x3. Am I right or not?
Yes.
So in y1 we have all the coefficients as 1, 1, 1. Here in y2 we have the coefficient of x1 as 1 and the remaining coefficients of x2 and x3 are 0. Right. So this particular S box is a linear S box. So by looking at these terms itself you can understand there is a linear relationship between these x1 and y1. So I can define it, or I can represent these particular linear S boxes using the matrices concept. So I take this output function as a column matrix where I have only one column y1 and y2, and this is a 2 by 3 matrix. And what is this one? This is a 3 by 1 matrix, right? So the output is 2 by 1. So these are the coefficients which I have defined, and these are the coefficients of y2, right? It is a product of this x1, x2 input variables with this symbol. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Now let us take an example how these S boxes are created, right? So the following table defines the input-output relation for an S box of size 3 by 2. Now this is not linear, right? This is not linear. We have 3 inputs and 2 outputs, right? So the leftmost bit of the input defines the row. So how many inputs are there?
3, sir.
3, right? For example, let me take this 100. What is the leftmost bit I have here? What is the leftmost bit in 100?
One, sir.
It is 1, right? So the leftmost bit is represented as the rows and the 2 bits, right bits, are represented as columns. So like this I have defined this S box. So the 2 output bits are the values on the cross section of the selected row on the column. For example, if I want to know what is the output of 110, what should I do? What is the leftmost bit here? This 1. So I should go to this particular column 1. And what are the 2 bits that are left over here? 1 0. So I should go to the corresponding column. So 1 1 0. So what is the cross section? I have here 1 1. So the output when I take the input as 1 1 0 is 1 1. Is it clear how this S box is working here?
Yes, sir.
Now tell me what is the output for 0 1 0? What is the output for 0 1 0? By looking at this table. Anybody?
0 1 0.
0 1, right? You should take the leftmost bit from the as the row and the next 2 bits 1 0 as the remaining 2 bits 1 0 has to be taken from the column. So 0 1 0 combination we will be getting this 0 1, right? So is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So coming to the concept of the invertibility, as we have discussed in the P boxes, we also have the S boxes which may or may not invertible. So if the number of inputs and the outputs are equal, then the S boxes are invertible, and if the number of inputs is not equal to the number of outputs, then they are not invertible. Is it clear? Right, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So in an invertible S box, the number of input bits should be same as the number of output bits. That is what we have discussed, right? So we'll see with an example, right? Can we convert these? So remember one concept, right? We have non-invertible S boxes which can be converted into invertible S boxes. That we'll discuss in the coming sessions. But for this time being, we'll see what this example of an invertible S box is. Right. So the same concept, if it has to be an invertible, what is that it should be? It should be 3 by 3. Right. The number of inputs should be equal to the number of outputs. Similarly, this is an inverted table. So this is the table that is used for the encryption. Let us see. So what is the output for 1 1 1 from this encryption table?
You are now unmuted.
1 1 0, sir.
1 1 1 means you have to take the leftmost bit here, and the cross section is 0. So the output is 1 1 0. Now I say that this particular box is invertible. That means the inverse of the same box, the inverse of this box will create 1 triple 1 when we give the input as 1 1 0, right? So this is the inverted table that is used. So let me ask you the question, what is the output of 1 1 0?
Triple 1, sir.
triple 1, right? So 1 1 0, 1 is here, 1 0 is here, we are getting this one. So when we inverse, when we make use of this inverse table, are we getting the same text or not?
You are now
Yes, sir.
unmuted.
Sir. Okay, sir.
Right. So this is the meaning of the invertibility. So when we use one box for the encryption and the inverse of the same box can be used for the decryption. Right. Is it clear? Now I think you might have got the clear idea on what this invertibility is. One box is used for the encryption and the inverse box is used for the decryption. That's it. Right. So the next operation which we are going to discuss is the XOR operation. What do you mean by XOR operation? What do you mean by XOR operation? So we have X, Y and exclusive OR Y like this. If the bits are equal, if we have the same bits for the inputs, the output will be 0. If the bits are different, we have a difference in the input bits, then the result will be 1. This is how the XOR operation is defined. So we will make use of this XOR operation for performing, or it is used as one of the component of the modern block ciphers. Right. So as we know that an important component in the most block ciphers is the exclusive OR operation. I told you, right? So the exclusive OR operation is the one of the important operation or the important component that we use in the modern block ciphers. And remember that this exclusive OR operation is used to convert a non-invertible table into an invertible table. We will see. So the invertibility of the exclusive OR operation. The exclusive OR operations are itself invertible. I think you have gone through one program in the laboratory session also. The first program what madam has discussed is based on the XOR cipher. Am I right or not?
You are
Yes,
now
sir.
unmuted.
Right. So once you take one input and you perform the exclusive OR operation with a key of some 3 bits or 4 bits, whatever it may be, and you will get a ciphertext Y. This X is the input and K is the key, and this X input is exclusive ORed with the K input, K key, and you will get the output Y as the ciphertext. And at the decryption end, when you take the same ciphertext Y, assume that the ciphertext has not been modified here in the communication channel. So you take the same ciphertext and you take the same key, exclusive OR this ciphertext with the key, you will get the plain text as it is. Right. So remember that the exclusive OR operation is itself invertible. There is no concept of non-invertibility for the exclusive OR operation. Right? Is it clear? And here are the important properties for the exclusive OR operation. So the 5 properties of the exclusive OR operation are, it is similar to that of a groups, right? What properties we have seen in the groups? One is the closure property associated to existence of the identity and the existence of the inverse, and one more additional property is the commutative property. So this property, all these properties will hold for this exclusive OR operation. Right. So can anybody tell me what is this Z comma exclusive OR? Is this a group or not? A simple recap of what we have discussed in the groups concept. I take one set as Z, which is set of integers, and my operation is the exclusive OR. Can anybody tell me, is it a group or not? Please respond, is it a group or not? So if I want to say
Yes,
that
sir.
yes, it is a group, super, right? If I want to say it is a group, that means the set of integers when operated on this operator, they should satisfy the following four properties, that is the closure property, associated to existence of the identity, and the existence of the inverse has to be satisfied, right? So this, in this particular slide, the XOR itself is saying, the other is saying that the exclusive OR property satisfies these four properties. Now tell me whether this group is an abelian group or not. Is it an abelian group or not?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, right, super. So when it has to be an abelian group, in addition to the following four properties, that is the closure, associated to existence of the identity and existence of the inverse, it should also satisfy one more property which is called as the commutative property. So if it satisfies all the five properties, we call it as an abelian group. So the exclusive OR operation is taken whenever we want to consider the abelian groups. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
So the next operation or the next component which we are going to discuss is the circular shift operation. What do you mean by shift? Again, we have these two types of shift operations, right? One is the left and another one is the right shift. So when it is left shift, you have to shift that n number of bits towards its left hand side. So this is not a shift, this is a circular shift. So for example, let us take 7b6, let us take this example, right? Before shifting, I have the 8 bits like this, b0, b1, b2, b3, b4, b5, b6 and b7. So if it is a normal shift of 3 bits, left shift of 3 bits means what happens is, it will move here, like this, everything will move here. So whatever I get here is b4, b3, b2, b1 and b0. So the first 3 bits, since they are vacant, they are replaced with zeros. This is a normal shift operation. But since it is a circular shift operation, whatever you remove from the left hand side, they should be kept again in the same bit. So first b7 will be removed and it is kept here. Next the b6 is removed and it is kept before b7. Similarly b5 is removed and it is kept before b6. This is how the circular shift operation works. So the reverse of the circular shift operation is the circular right shift operation. Circular left shift is having an inverse which is called as a circular right shift operation, where we will take the bits from the right hand side and insert it towards the left hand side, right? So the least significant bit is moved to the most significant bit in the circular right shift, whereas in the circular left shift the most significant bit will be moved towards the least significant bit, right? And remember that since this circular left shift and circular left shift right shift are inverses to each other, they are invertible. What do you mean by invertible? So if you make use of the circular left shift in the encryption technique, you can make use of the circular right shift in the decryption technique. The reverse is can also happen. So if you make use of the right shift, circular right shift in the encryption, you can make use of the circular left shift for the decryption. So this is the meaning of the invertibility, right? These two things are invertible. So circular left shift is inverse of the circular right shift. Therefore, if you use one operation in encryption or decryption, the other operation can be used in decryption and encryption respectively, right? But what is the case with the exclusive OR operation? Do we have any inverse for exclusive OR? Do we have an inverse for the exclusive OR operation?
No, sir.
No, but we call this exclusive OR as self-inversible. The symbol or the operation itself is inversible, therefore we call it as self-inversible operation. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now coming to the swap operation. Swap operation is a special case of a circular shift operation where we will take half of the bits and we will move towards or we will shift it towards the left hand side or right hand side, whatever is true. Right. Is it clear? This is just a swap operation is an extension to the circular left shift or circular right shift. Whatever operation you want to take, you can take. Nothing wrong in it. Right. So what you can do is whatever bits you are given. For example, if you are given 8 bits, you divide it into 2 parts. That is n by 2 parts. So 4 bits and 4 bits. So you swap all these 4 bits towards the least significant part, and the least significant 4 bits will be moved to the most significant part. Right. So if this is used for the encryption, the reverse can be used for the decryption. So this swap operation is also self-invertible. Do you understand the concept of self-invertibility?
Yes, sir.
See here, the left shifting n by 2 bits is same as the right shifting n by 2 bits, hence they are self-invertible. Now coming to the last component that is used in the modern block ciphers is the split and combine. So we have 2 other operations found in the same block. One is the split. Split means you divide. Combine means you attach, concatenation, right? So splits an n-bit word in the middle, creating 2 equal length words. This is also you have to divide it into equal parts. It's not the thing that you take your own n bits and you split it, right? You have to split the given number of bits into 2 equal parts. So that is called as the split. And combine means concatenates the 2 equal length words to form an n-bit word. The reverse of splitting is concatenation or combination, right? So this split and combine are the inverses of each other. Therefore, when you use the split operation for the encryption, you have to use the combine operation in the decryption to get the plain text. This is a simple thing or a simple component which you can understand. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the next topic which we are going to discuss is the product cipher, but since we are running out of time and this particular product cipher, though it is a simple topic, we need to have some concentration on this product cipher. A very simple topic where almost 5 to 10 slides will be there. It's not an issue, but we don't rush through the concepts, right? So that is the reason why we are not going to discuss this product ciphers now. So I am postponing the discussion of the product ciphers for the next session. So that is in the coming class we will discuss, and this is end of today's session. So in today's session we have discussed the various components of the modern block cipher, where we have started our discussion from the P boxes and then the S boxes. And can anybody tell me, is P boxes invertible or not? Are P boxes
You are now
invertible?
on
Yes, sir.
Yes, but the straight P boxes are only invertible. The compression and the expansion P boxes are not invertible in nature. And similarly, what about the S box? How can you represent the S box?
Using mathematical functions.
Using mathematical functions. Super. What are the 2 ways of representing the mathematical functions, or what are the 2 categories of the S boxes we have?
Linear and non-linear, sir.
Super. Linear and non-linear. Now tell me whether S boxes are invertible or not.
You are now on
Sir.
Yes, they are invertible, but the concept here is the number of inputs should be equal to the number of outputs if the S box has to be invertible. And what do you mean by invertibility? What do you mean by invertibility in cryptography? All of you please respond. Anybody?
Making use of components, same components for encryption and decryption, sir.
Right. So making use of one component for encryption and the inverse of the component for the decryption. Right. We cannot make use of the same component for encryption and decryption. If you make use of one component for the encryption, the inverse of the same component can be used for the decryption. That is what is in the invertibility is. So what is the other component we have discussed? Exclusive OR operation. Right. Now tell me whether exclusive OR operation is invertible or not.
Invertible, sir.
Invertible. But what is the other name? We don't have any other operation for performing the inverse, right? So the same exclusive OR operation can be used for the encryption as well as for the decryption. So we call such type of components as self-invertible components. So exclusive OR is a self-invertible component, right? So what is the other component we have discussed after exclusive OR? It is circular shift, right? So what are the two components that are used for encryption and decryption with respect to the circular shift?
Left circular shift and right circular shift, sir.
Right. Circular left shift and circular right shift. We should call it as circular left shift and circular right shift. So the circular left shift is invertible, or the inverse of the circular left shift is the circular right shift. Therefore the circular left shift we call it as the invertible with the circular right shift. And swapping, the next component we have discussed is swapping. Is swapping invertible or not?
Invertible, sir. Invertible,
It is
sir.
invertible, right? And it is self-invertible. So if anybody asks you what is the inverse of swap, you can simply say that the inverse of swap is swap itself. Why? Because the swap is the self-invertible component. Now the last component is the split and combine, where you will split the given data into two equal parts at the encryption side, and you try to combine them or concatenate those two parts into a single unit, which we will calling it as combine, right? That is done at the decryption side. Now tell me what is the inverse of split?
Combine, sir.
Combine. Split and combine is not self-invertible, right? Split has an inverse called combine. So by this time you should know what is invertibility and what are the various components we have that are self-invertible and that are that has inverses for the components, right? What are self-invertible components? Examples you tell me. What are the two self-invertible components?
XOR and swap,
Circular
sir.
shift and swap operations.
No. Circular left shift is not self-invertible. The XOR operation and the swap operation are the only two components which are self-invertible. The circular left shift is having an inverse of circular right shift. They are invertible, but not self-invertible. Right. Similarly, split is having an inverse called combine. Circular left shift is having an inverse called circular right shift. They are invertible but not self-invertible. Only self-invertible components that we have discussed are the XOR operation and the swap operation. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is end of today's session. Thank you one and all.